Shalom, I've got a question for you. And the question is your fire burning? Another question, is it burning continually? And is it burning hot? And we're going to talk about that in this week's Torah portion, which is Tzav. Now, last week we just started in Leviticus and talked about that sometimes it can be difficult going through Leviticus because we're talking about these offerings. But the truth is, the offerings in Hebrew are called korbanot. And, and a korbanot comes from this word, lehitkarev, to draw close to God. And that's what we're still talking about in this week's portion, because we're talking about offerings and we're talking about the consecration of the priest. But I want to start, this week's Torah portion, Tzav, is Leviticus 6:1 through 8:36. The Haftarah is Jeremiah 7:21 through 8:3, and also chapter 9, verses 22 and 23. And the New Covenant portion is Hebrews 8, verses 1 through 6. I want to start with Leviticus chapter 6, and just looking at verses 12 and 13. It says, "The fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it. It shall not go out, but the priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and he shall lay out the burnt offering on it and offer up in smoke the fat portions of the peace offerings on it. Fire shall be kept burning continually on the altar. It is not to go out." So that's really what I want to talk about today. And even though in this portion we see all these different offerings talked about, and just like I said, also the consecration of the priest, I want to focus on this because it gives us a clue as to what God is really looking for. You know, he was never really so interested in laws, but he was always interested in looking for a way to bring us close to him, that we would have this wonderful relationship. And so when he says, keep that fire burning, I believe he's talking about keep the fire of devotion and love for the Lord burning in your heart all the time. Now, I feel kind of like a little bit of an expert on this because we had a wood stove in our house when we were growing up, and my dad took such good care of us, specifically my mother, because she was always cold. But what did that entail? It meant that every day, first thing in the morning, my dad was bringing in wood and putting new wood into that fire. It meant that day after day, he was cutting wood, he was stacking wood, he was cleaning out the ashes. There was a real discipline involved in keeping that wood stove going all the time. And the same thing really with us, because there is something wonderful about daily disciplines that build us up in the Lord. And what disciplines am I talking about? You know, how do we make sure that a fire goes out? Well, if it's in the wood stove and we neglect it, it is going to go out. Also, if we take a candle and we cut off all oxygen, it is going to go out. So what are these daily disciplines? Waking up to listen to his voice. As it says, Shema Israel, listen, hear, O Israel. And what are we listening for? To hear his direction, to hear what he's saying about what is the condition of my heart. Lord, show me what's in my heart. Do I need to forgive somebody? Am I neglecting you, oh God? So listening to him, reading his word, praying, walking with him daily. Now, that's another thing about the wood stove. It wasn't just that Daddy put wood in it in the morning and it was over. No, you had to keep stoking the stove all day long, all through the day. He had to keep bringing in more wood. And at night, especially, the last thing before Daddy went to bed was he totally filled that wood stove up with wood so that in the morning there would be coals that would be there, and all he had to do was fan those flames. So as we go into next week, I want us to really be focusing on this. How is the fire of devotion to the Lord in our hearts? And what can we do? What disciplines can we adopt? What can we add to it to make our fire for God burn hotter and brighter. I want to just finish with the one verse, though I think it's two, from the Haftarah, which is in Jeremiah chapter 9, verses 22 and 23. Thus says the Lord, let not a wise man boast of his wisdom. Let not the mighty man boast of his might. Let not a rich man boast of his riches, but let him who boasts boast of this, that he understands and knows me, and that I am the Lord who exercises loving kindness, justice, and righteousness on the earth. For I delight in these things, declares the Lord. So let's just stoke that fire in our hearts, that fire of love and devotion for Him, that we would be those who understand and know and love the Lord. I bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day.